And you were one of the pioneers of Tejano music.
Well, thank you. I'd like to think so.
You're a strong personality, Shelly.
Being one of the first women, that's a big deal.
It was you and Selena at the same time. You guys were close friends.
We were two totally different performers.
As you're telling me these stories here, I'm thinking about Taylor Swift.
It's like I totally understood what she was going through because we'd had it done to us. If you are not putting money into the real estate, you don't own it. She was like throwing gritos and she was clapping for me, and music is not a pill that we swallow.
Right, Shelly Lares here with me right now.
Yes.
It's so wonderful to have you. See you again.
Thank
I
you.
feel like we've seen each other a lot recently.
I know, we're friends now at this point.
I think so, which is so interesting because we really only met for the first time several months ago.
Yeah. That's
But
crazy.
you have this big personality, Shelly, and you were
thank
so
you.
welcoming. I remember the first time I walked into your studio.
Thank you.
And it felt at home.
Yeah, as it should. I mean, it's a creative space and it's a positive space, and you're a creator, so, that's why you felt at home.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and we almost got you in the vocal booth, remember?
we did, and I'm still waiting on my chance
I know.
with you.
We got to get you in the vocal booth. We definitely got to do that.
We both love to sing, which is, I think, that's one of those things that just comes from the heart.
Right.
I can imagine this has been you since a little kid,
Yeah.
singing all your life.
I mean, as far back as I can remember. I mean, just my parents always told me that I could whistle before I could speak. And then once I started learning about music, I was always singing around the house. I always had my tape player with me or my record player, and I would play music all the time. I'd sing different music, and just music has played a huge role in my life for sure.
You played the drums first, right?
I got on the drum set as a child, probably, I think my brother, I was very young. I was very young, maybe about 7 years old. My brother had his drum set in the house, and I loved it. And he would only let me play the drums. He wouldn't let my sisters or anyone really touch his drum set other than me. And I don't know if it was because I was the baby and, I was kind of spoiled by my siblings, or if he, saw something in me. Maybe he just saw the love I had for it. And I just remember getting on there, and I actually have a scar.
From the drums?
From the
sticks?
I was I don't know what I was doing, but I remember I fell into the cymbal and I hit myself here. So it's kind of a little constant reminder that I still have. And I remember him showing me the guitar too, just how to, play little chords. Same thing with the piano. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just being very intrigued by all types of music too.
I think that's something that really sets you apart also from a lot of other artists out there, is that throughout your career, you weren't just a vocalist. You were a performer, a singer, you played instruments.
Yeah.
And now you even produce.
The producer, yeah.
So you're well-rounded in the music business.
I mean, a lot of people didn't know that about my career starting out. Recorded my first record when I was 10. And it was a bilingual song called Break It To Me Gently. That wasn't originally done in Spanish as well, but my mother translated the words to Spanish. And that was the first record I recorded. And I remember going into what they used to call the shack. That's what they called that studio. And Manny Guerra was the owner of that studio. And Manny Guerra was already a very iconic musician and producer. He had played with Sonny Osuna. He was a drummer. He had already recorded every pioneer in Tejano music at this point by the time I walked into the shack. And I remember walking in and just hearing the choir, the God's choir voice, when I walked in there and I saw that big, huge console and I saw the reel-to-reel, and I remember just stepping, because he was like on a step, and I remember walking up there and just looking over his shoulder and like wanting to know how everything worked. So that's when the love of the studio really that bug bit me at age 10. instantly.
But it's because you'd already started to break into the professional side of it.
I just started.
You
I
just
actually had just become part of the band months prior.
How did you get into it, though? What made you go from what your family already was just loving to do at home to saying, I want to do this for a living?
Yeah. I'd heard of Tejano music growing up. It was stuff that music we would hear at family functions, quinceañeras, our weddings, barbecues. But my parents, we listened to everything. So I grew up listening to country, pop, I mean, you name it. Mariachi, everything. And my sister, Laura, who's my sister before me, was getting married. And my brother-in-law was a huge Tejano music fan already. He loved Little Joe. And David Mares, who's one of our pioneers in Tejano as well, was the actual vocalist for this Tejano orquesta that they hired to play at my sister's wedding, and their name was Hot Tamales. That's the name of the band. And so they hired him, and my sister wanted me to sing a song with the band. And so Dad made a call to the manager and Jimmy Jimenez, and he's like, my daughter wants my other daughter to sing a song with y'all, but she doesn't know Spanish, so can she learn an English song? So they're like, sure. So they learned an Olivia Newton-John song called Let Me Be There, because she was one of my idols growing up. I still have every Olivia Newton-John album.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And I remember my parents took me to the practice, and I walked in and I started singing, and they kind of all looked at each other, and before we know it, the manager was calling my father and asked if I could sing at a prior gig they were doing before my sister's wedding. It was on the south side of San Antonio here at the Royal Palace. I don't remember if it was a quinceañera or a wedding, but I remember there was a lot of people. And I stepped on that stage for the first time and sang, and everyone came to the front. And the sax player picks me up at the end of the song, and they're clapping for me, and they want another song.
How old were you?
10. And then we do the same song again because I only knew one song. And
what did it feel like?
It was amazing. It was like, what's happening, But it wasn't so much the reaction of the crowd that I remember. I remember the feeling of having a band with me. Like that, prior to that, all I would carry around is my cassette player, to everywhere I would go.
Mm-hmm. And it was that moment you realized.
Yeah. And then that's when the manager asked my parents if I could join the band. And then shortly after that is when I was in the recording studio, recording our very first record. Because I recorded with Manny Guerra there at age 10, right? And then I stayed with Hot Tamales for 4 years. And throughout that time, we recorded 45s in other studios, right? And then it wasn't until I turned 17 that Manny had already been recording some of these artists, Selena included. She was moving on to Capitol Records, and Manny was devastated because that was his star artist and young. And so Jose Rosario, who is our friend and still works with Shell Shock now, suggested to Manny, hey, why don't you sign Shelly Lares? And Manny's like, well, I haven't recorded Shelly Lares since she was 10 years old. That was 7 years later. He goes, well, she's still performing. She's touring and, recording music. So he goes, well, call her, set up a meeting. And that's when Manny signed me. And we only stayed in that shack for maybe my first 3 albums. And then he moved to Pleasanton, a little further down south side, and started a whole new studio.
Now, is it called the Shack, or is it just something that you call the Shack?
Everyone called it the Shack.
Because it's literally a shack.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, but it definitely didn't sound like it.
On the inside, what did it look like?
I remember there was a lot of brown carpeting. I vaguely remember when you'd walk in through the door, there was a room directly in front, and that's where they would do all of they had all of the music, like vinyls and our photos and all of our stock of our music. But when you would walk this way and into the room, there was like a platform that went up, and that's where Manny would sit. And then diagonally would be the window and a door that went into where the drums were, where we would cut vocals.
But it was a pretty small space.
It was a small space, yeah, from what I remember.
And there you worked. Did you record directly with the Navairas, Selena?
I didn't. No, we never directly recorded together because everyone always had their own scheduled sessions. But that's where Emilio recorded his very first solo album as well. When he left David Lee and went solo. That was where he recorded Sensaciones. in that album. Ram Herrera recorded in that studio. Yeah. And then when he started signing artists after me, I was the first artist that he re-signed again. Then he started signing artists after that, and that's just that's where our home was, you know. Everybody would record there at designated times.
So at age 10, that was your first recording. And that's also when you met Selena.
Yeah,
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, we met at Market Square. We were both doing a show. I still remember what we were both wearing. I had a red dress on, and I had like boots, kind of like cowboy boots, but not really. They were kind of high tan boots. I remember that. And she had on her silver sequin pantsuit, jacket, and almost, I think it was a white ruffly like blouse underneath it.
And she was
She had
at the
very
time
short
too.
hair and like a little fro type. Yeah. We were both very young. I mean, but we hit it off. We'd already been kind of hearing about each other at this point because we're the youngest. We were the youngest in the industry at the time, especially the youngest females.
And that was
and
unheard
two of the only
of.
females.
Unheard of at the time.
Oh gosh. I mean, because when we started, I mean, there was only 7 women in the whole Tejano music industry, period. Everyone, it was more male dominated. It was tons of males, but only 7 women all together. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's this very small industry, and
yeah,
you know, it took women like Lydia Mendoza and Laura Canales and Patsy and Elsa Garcia and those women to really break those doors down for Selena and myself, because you know, most people think of us, but there was women that put it on the map before we did.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, but you guys really bonded over this, and I think you brought something new to Tejano music at the time, because to this day,
we definitely got the new generation.
Name,
yeah, we definitely got the new generation listening, because my friends were not listening to Tejano music when I was recording. Their parents were, and I really didn't talk about it in school. Like, I didn't talk about my being a singer and that I made records, and then friends would see me at quinceañeras and weddings. They're like, what are you doing? Like, you're a singer? You know?
You went to normal public school?
I went to private school.
Private school.
I went to private school.
But you weren't homeschooled?
No.
And at the same time, you were a professional artist?
Yeah.
So you were balancing both school and being a professional artist. How did you do that?
My parents made it, you know, it was definitely discussed in the very beginning when they asked me if I wanted to join the band, if that was even something I wanted to do back with Hot Tamales. And I said, yeah, I did. I loved it. But the rule was, like, you know, my school came first, and if my grades started to suffer, then, you know, I couldn't be in the band anymore. But it kind of worked out because I played sports too, and that was the rule for sports as well. So, you know, that's the beautiful thing, aside from, you know, having an early relationship with God and as a child, you know, in school. You know, private school teaches you a lot of structure and discipline. So not only did I have that in my home, I had it in school as well. So it's very easy for me to just, you know, do what I needed to do. But it's a lot of people look at it both ways. Like, for me, I didn't lose out on my childhood. You know, my parents allowed me to go hang out with friends, go to the mall, go to the movies, you know, go to school dances. And that's where I felt like I didn't really miss out on anything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I would choose being with my band or being on stage.
So how did your day go, though? You'd go to school and you'd come home, and then you would rehearse with your band. Like, how many times a week did you do
when
that?
I was still with Hot Tamales, we would play on Wednesday nights and Thursday nights.
And where did you play?
We would play at here in San Antonio, a couple of the clubs we would play at were called OP and the Latin Corner. And both of those are on Bandera Road, and they're still there. There's still clubs. There's still bars that people go to. One of them is still at the Tejano Bar. It's crazy.
Did you ever go back and visit?
I have not been. I only went to the very first one that I went to kind of not that long ago, and it looked the same pretty much inside. And then probably around 13 or 14 years old is when I kind of started telling Dad that I wanted to have my own band. I wanted to have younger guys. They weren't old guys per se. They were probably in their 20s and 30s, but as a 10, 14, 13-year-old, that's old, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to have
people your age?
my age, closer to my age. So my cousin Tony who had been playing music since we were kids. We started the band. He got friends from school, from Jefferson. And Dad would kind of go to the music. This is when we still had a lot of music stores around, and where you could put like information on the bulletin, and people would call. Daddy would put our information, looking for musicians. He would just go scout. He would go scout. Like if there's a young guy playing a guitar, and he'd go talk to them, or, and then we built my very first band, which was Shelly Lares and the New Generation Band. That was my very first band. I was 13. And my cousin Tony, Alex, Adolph, Weldon, that was my first band. Mm. And then I kind of went back to Hot Tamales after that for a little while. And then that's when I signed with Manny, and we're like, okay, we got to start a young band.
And that was your big break.
That's when Tony got Chris and Rudy, and and Chris joined the band. And
you're talking about Chris Perez.
Yeah, that's when he joined my band.
Who went on to meet Selena through you, right?
Yeah, not till way later. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this was like 1987 at this point.
Yeah, so he was part of, so you knew Chris Perez first.
Oh, God.
He was a part of your band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, he learned of Tejano music through us. Mm-hmm. He didn't really know Tejano music at all until he joined the band. Didn't know how to play Tejano at all.
And then one day Selena was visiting you at the house?
Yeah, she was visiting, and they first met. But, I mean, it was nothing to that effect. It was just she knew my band and would talk to them all the time and joke with them all the time. And but it wasn't until way later that, he was with me for a couple of years, left my band, and went with 3 other bands before he joined her band. And it wasn't until probably like maybe early 90s that they really started, showing interest in each other after he joined her band.
Now, I'm curious, though. I mean, you mentioned that your idol was Olivia Newton-John.
Among others, yes.
Among others. How do you go from, I love her songs, Olivia Newton-John, to I want to be a Tejano singer? I mean, those are two very different things.
Going back to Hot Tamales, like, I didn't realize I was going to fall in love with Tejano music, honestly. But I realized quickly that it's who I am, right? It's my culture. It's who I am. But it's the only genre that allowed me to implement other styles of music. Like the Hot Tamales, when I joined the band, I got them doing Madonna, Michael Jackson. We did country music. So we started implementing that in the shows too, not just like cumbias and baladas and rancheras, right? We started opening up our music, our sets to different styles of music. And it was accepted because Tejano fans love everything. They love all styles of music. And if you go into one in particular genre, like say, if I just went country, well, now times are different. I'm talking then. Would I turn around and do a mariachi song or a Spanish song? And they'd be like, they're like, what are you doing? But whereas in Tejano...
You'd be canceled very fast, probably.
Yeah, whereas in Tejano, you do that and it's like, cool, So that's what really made me fall in love with Tejano music, is because it was the only genre that allowed me to be everything that I am. Mm. And that's the one beautiful thing about Tejano music, that no other genre in the world is like it. No other genre can do what we do.
What is it like for you when you step up on that stage and you look at the crowd that's just, waiting for you to perform?
It's more exciting when it's your songs that they're singing with you, like your original music, your hits. People do not realize, and artists don't realize this, which is one of the things that I'm really adamant about when I first sit and speak with artists, is I ask them, why do you want to be an artist? What is it that makes you want to do it? I get all kinds of answers, and there's not a right or wrong one, because everyone has their own agendas of why they want to do things, right? But what really is important to me is for artists to understand the gift, okay? The gift is not given to everyone. God doesn't give this gift of music to everyone. It's a very, very important gift to have. It's a responsibility, I think, because when you're sitting in that studio, and yes, you're sharing part of your diary of your life, your musical legacy, right? But you are also writing lyrics and music to other people's diaries as well. that can relate to what you're doing. So I want artists to understand this isn't just about going viral. This isn't just about selling X amount of songs, albums. This is about the connection that you are making with the person that's listening to your song. I've had 4 generations of Shelly Lares fans throughout my 43-year career that have come to me and have told me my song. An artist just told me yesterday that came to visit me from New Mexico. Her family member told her, "Oh, Shelly's music got me through my divorce." And you don't realize that when you're in the studio creating. You don't think about those things. It's a huge responsibility to have, right? So that is why I do music. The connection that I've made with fans has been why I do what I do. God has blessed me with the opportunity to really provide for my family with this, right? Because God wants you to prosper financially, successfully in what you do and what you love. He wants you to, but he wants you to understand why you're doing it, the integrity of why you're doing what you do.
Now, the Shelly that's speaking now is the producer Shelly.
And the artist,
and
for
the
sure.
artist who's signing on talent now, though, and you've been doing this for decades. But at the time, when you were that 17-year-old that just signed that big record, did you realize you had that gift? And did you realize that responsibility even at the time?
I knew it as a child. I knew that there was something special that God had given me, especially when I realized not all my friends had it, you know? And so I'm like, there's something, and we're taught that in school too. We were taught to understand our gifts. You know, that's one thing I was very blessed about going to private school was that, you know, they did hone in on our gifts and our talents. And then we had parents who really did that for us, me and my siblings.
So then from the age of 17 until what year would you say your career was really taking off? 17 to what?
Till the age of like 25. 17 to 25.
What was that life like? Like, what was your day to day?
It was very
tour?
much consistent, like constant moving, constant on the go. We spent many years traveling, being in different cities, different towns, 6 days a week.
And that was you and your band?
Me, my band, and my parents. Because, you know, my parents owned a business at the time before I signed my first contract. That was how we ate, you know. And,
now, was that around the country that you toured or just in Texas mainly?
We were touring all around the country at this time, yeah. We started heading out to Midwest and California and Florida, New Mexico, Arizona.
Do you have a favorite place that you performed at?
I have a lot of favorite places. I mean, Oregon is one of my favorite places to play, but I did love Milwaukee when we played in Milwaukee.
Why is that? Is it just the sightseeing part of it, or is it the crowd?
Just the sights, you know. It took us to places we never thought we would be able to see, you know, even performing in Brooklyn and, you know, being on that stage and looking across and seeing the Statue of Liberty. Like, you know, it's like very surreal. It was a big, huge Latin fest that I did that year.
Now, from place to place, did you feel like Tejano music was appreciated more in certain places than others?
I felt it was appreciated more outside of Texas at some points. Yeah, I think because we were so saturated. It became, once Tejano music really started rising in the early 90s, and, you know, corporate companies started coming in, like your major record labels, your major companies like. I was sponsored by Miller Lite. I was sponsored by Wrangler Western Wear. I was sponsored by Toca Percussion. Like I was endorsed by very big companies, major companies. So were a lot of my other peers.
And you were one of the pioneers of Tejano music.
Well, thank you. I'd like to think so because, I mean, going back to 1982, like I said, being one of the first women, that's a big deal, you know. Now I like the evolution of women now, which was a really big part of the movement. I was a big part of the movement of women supporting women in Tejano music and mentoring a lot of the women in Tejano music.
So when you first got that very first big paycheck.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it. It was as a songwriter, actually. Going back to my Manny days, we didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about being a producer. I just knew that I was producing my music from day one. And I didn't know that that I wasn't being credited for it either. That's why the industry freaks out to this day. They're like, I didn't know you did all that, Shelly. Like, you know how to do this. I've been doing it since day one. But because it wasn't credited, I wasn't credited as a writer, as a producer, I'm sorry, an arranger.
Why is that? Why weren't you given the credit for your work?
I mean, I don't know what the answer would be, but I know it was no fun at the time.
Did you realize it at the time?
I
That you weren't
realized.
being
I remember
credited, or
looking at my very first album being printed, and yes, our names were on there as songwriters, because when I first signed with Manny, and I was very adamant about wanting to write my own music and produce it. You know, he was like, "But I'm your producer. You know, this is what I'm for." I'm like, yeah, but I don't think you really know what I want to create for myself. So after long being adamant about it and him getting tired of hearing me, I'm sure, he allowed me to do half of the album, that first album. But he did say, look, if you're going to write songs, we have to register you as writers. This is how this works.
So then what
It's how
was
you
it-
get your credit, your royalties.
what did you not get credited for then?
Producing and arranging on actually all of the albums that I did with Manny.
So then your first big paycheck was for
That
songwriting.
was for on my very last album with Manny, where he was like not even in the studio anymore. Like I had already thrown him out by the third album. I was like, we don't need you in here.
So you guys broke up.
No, we just didn't have him come in the studio. I was pretty much handling everything when we were recording the music. Like, I don't need you to be here doing the engineering anymore because you're not producing my music anymore. You're just in here. Like, go to the other room.
Oh, okay. So
I
you're
threw him
still
out of
working
his own
together. You just
yeah, I
you
just
just
threw him
let
out
you
of
do.
his studio. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And he did it, you know. And
You're a strong personality, Shelly.
Yeah, and he
People
let
don't
me.
mess with you, huh?
Yeah, and he let me. You know, he let me do it. And I had Brian Redmore as the engineer, and sometimes even Red would be like, "Okay, Shelly, this, go ahead and do it." And then, you know, as it grew, I think that whole first year of '94, I think it's safe to say, just on the one song alone, I clearly made over $200,000 on that song alone. Again, and not knowing about publishing yet. And once we started making this type of money, that's when we were like, what does a publisher make? And so come to find out, you know, the publisher makes 100% of publishing. So then we started doing the figuring out of what we were losing out on as far as not being our own publishers. So that's when, after I left Manny and I went with Sony, I got signed with Sony, Sony Latin. And that's when I was like, made it a stipulation of my contract that I was my own publisher as well. And even though Sony had their own publishing company, that they could not make me record Sony publishing songs unless I chose to record those songs. So I went into a whole new record deal knowing a lot more than when I started. No doubt.
Wow. So let me ask you this. As you're telling me these stories here, I'm thinking about Taylor Swift and
Yeah, she's a
everything
genius.
she went through in the last several years publicly, and how she re-recorded all her songs
Yeah.
and took control of her
Right.
material.
Right.
When you saw that at the time, I mean, did
It's
you...
like I totally understood what she was going through because we'd had it done to us. And unfortunately, a lot of the Tejano artists have been taken advantage of for millions of dollars.
And you just called her a genius.
Yeah. She was relentless of just knowing what to do because, you know, talent only gets you so far in this business. Like, you have to know business. You have to know the business
So
part.
you can't just be the
No.
talent. You've got
You
to be
can
a
do it.
business person.
You can do it all day, every day, as long as you want to. But don't expect to really have the rewards of financially longevity if you're not going to handle things like that way.
So
Does that make sense?
Your best advice would be to be in control of your own stuff as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think we're in such different times right now. Like, it's not the same music industry now. There's a lot of fundamental things about the music industry that still apply. But now I always urge artists to do things independently.
When you say independently, like what? Like on YouTube?
No, like funding themselves. Funding everything themselves, funding their records, funding their marketing, funding everything they possibly can. Because,
But you don't have the connections when you're
because-
starting. When you're starting out, you're a young artist, right?
Right.
It's about who you know.
Yeah,
I would
but there's
think.
a lot of tools to utilize now that we didn't have We sure as heck did not have a lot of what's available to artists now. But I really suggest that they always have to have a mentor that knows the business, that can help guide them, which is why I take mentorship very seriously. This is why I gear artists to doing things themselves, because yes, they can sign to labels and there are benefits to having a label, right? But at the end of the day, it's not going to be yours. It's like anything else. It's 101. Like, if you are not putting money into the real estate, you don't own it.
So when you were going through that peak in your career, it was you and Selena at the same time. You guys were close friends, but at the same time, competition.
Yeah, she took a totally different turn. I didn't really gear more towards the Mexican market like she did. That was their goal all along. I stayed more going towards the country market. I started doing a lot of country shows. I was in Nashville. I recorded in Nashville. You know, we just had totally different goals. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we were two totally different performers. It's like comparing apples to oranges, you know, you just don't. And the funny thing is that people don't do that to the guys. You never hear people talking about Tejano music and comparing two men.
Yeah. So
Why is that?
do you feel like people did that a lot to you guys at the time they tried to pitch you against each
We
other?
still do it. We're still talking about it. We're still talking about it to this day. And they don't do that to the men. For what reason? I know a lot of guys who I can probably mirror more than what Selena and I were.
Right.
They dress the same. They look exactly the same. They even sound the same.
I think it's just because you guys were friends.
Maybe
more than
so. I mean,
anything.
but
I think
all
it's
of-
just because you guys were friends.
But all of us Tejano artists were friends. We're a family.
Because you were friends with the Navitas too.
Of course.
Yeah,
I've known
Raulito was
Emilio
telling
since
me.
I was 10 years old.
Yeah. And what was that like working with Emilio?
Oh, I love the guys. I mean, they're necios, but I love them to death. Like, you know, I mean, it's like you see each other all the time. Like we see each other all the time, and we're always at the, you know, we all do like Thanksgiving shows together. We'll do Christmas shows together. We do New Year's Eve shows together. And then when Emilio and I were both signed with Wrangler together, we're both signed with Miller Lite together. So we did a lot of things together. He and I were the firsts in a lot of things.
And what was it like
They came
working
like
with
a little
Emilio?
They're just good, humble people. So like, you know, it's just when you meet good people, you want to be around good people. They're very family oriented, like we are. And so, you know, you can't help
You
but
spent a lot of time together?
a lot of time together. A lot of time together. That's why, you know, it was really 2016 was a really hard year, because that was the year my father passed. That was the year Emilio passed. I also lost one of my co-producers that created a lot of my really good music with me. He was only 44 years old. One of my other best friends passed away. He was like 44 years old. My cousin passed away that year. It was a really dark year.
Tell me about that. You have a big heart.
Oh, thank
Shelley.
you so much.
You do.
I mean,
I was
mean,
amazed with your story. I didn't know it until you and I met and we talked
Well, thank you.
a little bit. And I could just feel the passion and the love in your heart
Well, thank
for
you.
people.
I mean, all of the honor and glory to God for that, because I'm just blessed to have these gifts. And I realized, you know, I was trying to find some things along the way that I like to do. So I studied like fitness and nutrition on the road. I studied like physical therapy aid. And I was like, okay, trying to find something, right? And it's crazy because, you know, things happen for a reason, right? So my father suffered a stroke in 99, which is right after like the nosedive of Tejano, really. And we were performing in Fort Wayne, Indiana when my father had his stroke. And it was very difficult because our lives changed from one minute to the next. Fortunately, my father, you know, lived through that stroke, but it made a huge like dent in his life, you know, to say the least. Mom and I had to stay in Fort Wayne for a whole month before we could even bring my father back to San Antonio. So, you know, having those days of really caring for him and he would have setbacks, you know, we knew nothing about strokes at this time. He'd had like little warnings along the way because Dad was really bad about taking care of himself. And so we'd had these warnings, but, you know, we didn't know what stroke was. And so I remember physically taking care of my father, like picking him up, feeding him, cleaning him, bathing him, and not realizing that along that time is when God was kind of planting that caregiving in me person, right? Not realizing that. I was just doing it because I was my dad. You know what I mean? It was like no brainer. I do it for my mom, do it for my dad, do it for my family, right? So we come home and mom, dad's like, y'all got to get back on the road, go back on the road. Mom took over as road manager. And dad, finally started getting better, started doing the bookings from home, didn't travel anymore. But along the way, I'm like, man, I really like taking care of my dad. I really love it. And it wasn't until to be clear, until 2015, that I really started thinking, it was a year before my father passed, started thinking, okay, really helping people is my main gift. That's my gift. I love helping people, and having the ability to do it is what I love.
Even more than music.
Even more than music. Honest to God.
That fulfilled you.
It fulfilled me. It was something within me that, like, I mean, not that, and I can't compare it to music because they're two totally different things, right? Because music fulfilled me in a certain way that this couldn't, right? So like they're its own thing, right? So I remember having this specific conversation with my dad. He was outside. I'll never forget. He was in the backyard, and I said, "Dad, I think I know what I want to do when I retire." He's like, "What is it?" And I said, "I think I want to go into nursing, specifically in hospice." He's like, "Well, do it just like my parents have always told us. Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do, right?" So then the following year, my father passes away, and it was kind of still for a little bit. I was still traveling though. We were still touring, still recording. By this time, I was independent. I was doing my own thing with Shell Shock Records 3. And then I don't know what it was, but one day I'm like, I got to make sure that I want to do this. And I walk into this home health place, and I sit with the owner, and I'm like, I want to be a caregiver. I go, but I can only do it twice a week because I'm self-employed and I'm very busy. She's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm in the music business. She's like, well, what do you sing? And I'm like, I sing Tejano. She was a white lady. No disrespect to anybody, but yeah, so she didn't know who I was. And she's like, oh, okay. And I said, yeah, but twice a week, maybe like only on Tuesday, Wednesday. And she says, why do you want to do this? I said, because I think I want to go into nursing when I retire, and I want to make sure that this is what I want to do. I knew it, but I wanted to make sure.
So your start was to just sing for them?
No,
Go in
I wanted to actually be hands-on a nurse, like not even do music anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, like by the time I pull away from the driveway, she's like, well, the first thing she says is, okay, but like, all right, twice a week. Okay, so I drive off, and she calls, and she's like, do you know that you're on Wikipedia, Shelly? And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm on Wikipedia. I guess you Googled my name. And she's like, why do you want to do this? Like, I only pay $11 an hour. Like, why do you want to do this for this money? And I'm like, it's not about the money for me. I have reasons why I want to do this. And she's like, okay. She immediately paired me up with hospice patients. And that just solidified working in hospice for me. That was it. Like, I loved it.
You knew.
And I did it for 3 years.
Do you remember your first patient?
Oh, I do. I remember my very first patient. And
what do you remember about that person?
I just really loved caring for another human being. Like, I really loved, and he was not a very nice person. He was not a very nice person to other people, but he was nice to me. And his daughter even said, she's like, my dad does not like anyone, and he likes you.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes...
Is it because he felt like you actually enjoy and you really want to do this out of the love of it?
It's really the way you treat people, honestly. Because even though they're at their end of their life, you still have to treat them with dignity. And that is very important. It's something that you have to remember with people. How you talk to them. And I think people just can kind of feel that from me, you know, because I don't hide my emotions at all. You know, I'm very straightforward. I
Yeah.
get that from my mom too. You know, we just kind of say how we feel and say how it is. And, you know, you don't leave people to question, oh, I wonder if she's all right with it. No, you're going to know.
You're
if I am.
genuine.
Yeah. So, and I don't like people, you know, I don't ever feel like I'm better than anyone else. I've done amazing things in my life. And I had, the moment I walked into that, you know, house, yeah, I was a Grammy nominated artist and, you know, I'd sold so many records and I was, you know, famous in some people's eyes. But I'm, at the end of the day, I'm a human being just like he was. You know what I mean?
So up until COVID, you were still balancing music and then, you know, working.
I had stopped
working-
caregiving by then. I'd only done it for 3 years and I'd stopped. I had to.
Yeah.
Because I got busy.
And then you went back to it?
No, after my father passed and I did the caregiving, I never went back to it. And then so COVID comes and, you know, I tell my wife and I tell my mom, because we spent COVID together. I'm like, I'm ready to step off the road on my 40th year. So I'd be turning 50, my 40th year. So in 21 is when I made the announcement that in 22, that was going to be my final year. And so I was very selective with the shows I did my final year. And, you know, prior to that, I had already started Shell Shock Records 3. I had already started my record label in 2012. I had always wanted a studio, like a recording studio. It'd always been my dream and my parents' dream for me.
And you have that now.
And
'cause
yeah, I'd
that's where
always
we
wanted
filmed the
that,
first
right?
interview.
And I wanted to continue mentoring. I wanted to continue working with artists and producing music. Like I still wanted to do that. But at this point, I was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give it my 150%, right? So my goal was after my retirement to go to nursing school. That was my goal. And I knew that if I was going to nursing school, I was not going to have time for these other things because that's like being married to school.
Yeah.
I know one of my best friends is a nurse. My cousin's a nurse. I know the sacrifice it takes to going into it.
So
right?
did you do it?
So I went to apply and I was actually going to start April of 2023. But in February of 2023 is when I received a phone call from my cousin Sylvia, who owns Harmony Hospice Care. And she's like, look, I know you want to go into nursing. I'm not telling you not to. She's like, but I'm starting something different in my company and I want to incorporate music therapy, music support. And I really want you to do it. She's like, you'll still be very hands-on with the patients.
You're the perfect person.
Yeah, and I was
mean,
like,
this
yeah.
is a godsend.
It was very much a godsend because I prayed and I was like, okay, God, obviously you don't want me to leave music. For whatever reason, you don't want me to leave music.
Just using it differently.
Yeah, just use it differently. But I had done it. When I was caregiving, I was already kind of singing for the patients. So it wasn't anything like out of the ordinary for me. And I'd done it for my father too. We were always playing music for Dad.
What's the
you know?
reaction you get when you sing? Is it
Oh,
truly
like some of them
healing?
are real. Oh, yeah. I mean, they change. They're like night and day. I've gone in there where they're like depressed or they're just quiet or they don't want to talk to nobody. And then, you know, I feel them out and I start to sing and their demeanor changes completely. Yeah. And so, so I said no to the nursing school, said yes to Harmony Hospice, opened my studio, and I also got, you know, the invitation to be the artist in residence, the very first and only artist in residence to this day at the University of Texas, San Antonio. I accepted that position.
And what are you doing with that position?
Now I'm on my third year. In 2026, I will be starting the very first Tejano ensemble class at UTSA. So
making history again.
Yes, making history. I've had my making history moments. You know, going back throughout my career, I was the very first female to collaborate with another female, which was Ellie Darreina. We were the first two females to ever collaborate in Tejano music, and we won awards for that. And then as Las Tres Divas with Stephanie Montiel and Ellie and myself, we were the first three females to tour on the other side of the world as a duet, as a trio. And so, a lot of amazing things have happened. But
When did you do that, the trio?
we did the Divas in 2005, 2008, around there. We got our Grammy nomination for Best Mexican American Album, which was huge for us. We toured to Japan, Korea, Guam.
Wow.
And, we're entertaining Japanese, Koreans who love Tejano, and just blown away by how people love it on the other side of the world. It was just incredible.
Was that surprising to you?
It was very surprising to us. We freaked out. And then we did have, because we did military, so we did have a lot of fans who, we went as Las Tres Divas, but they didn't know until we were there. They're like, hold on, this is Shelly Lares. This is Shelly Lares. We didn't know that it was y'all, because they didn't know the name as Las Tres Divas. They just knew us as individual artists. So it was nice. And just to see the culture there and to see that appreciation for Tejano amongst the Japanese and the Koreans that loved it. Like, they loved it. And they were dancing it and, all this kinds of stuff. So it was really nice. But
And it was all in Spanish.
yeah, the Divas, when we went, we did everything. So we did Spanish, we did
English.
pop, we did country.
So people love it even though they don't understand
Yeah,
the
but
words.
the Tejano stuff, they don't know, they don't understand it, but they're trying to sing it and they love it.
And they still connect.
But that's just the beauty of music.
It's a universal language.
It's a
and that's
universal
exactly what that
language,
means.
and it is, and that's why now in hospice, this is what I mean. This is why I don't take the gift lightly, because the gift is what I am doing to soothe their soul, to calm them, to make them happy. It's also for pain management. It's for memory, because who doesn't listen to a song and go back? You know what I'm saying? It takes you back somewhere. So especially with my dementia patients, they will ask me 100 times what my name is, who I am, why I'm there. But they will sing every single lyric to their favorite song that I sing for them that day. And they will they will know every word.
How does that make you feel?
It's incredible to watch. It's not me that's doing this. That's that gift that God gave that's doing that. I'm just a vessel to make it happen between us. I'm just delivering it. That's all I'm doing.
So now, how often are you at Harmony Hospice?
I try to do it as often as I possibly can. Because, I had a patient not too long ago. She's like 97 years old. And she reminded me so much of my mom. I'm like, this is going to be my mom when my mom's 97 years old. The whole, humor, the comments, the faces, everything was like seeing my mother. And she was like throwing gritos and she was clapping for me and we had our moment, where we were just connecting.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
you
and
don't
then
just sing, you actually take care of them.
I do.
And
Yes.
you sing.
And I
on top
talk
of
sometimes I go and I don't even sing. Because I have to feel them out. I have to see how are they that day. Sometimes if they just want me to make them laugh or talk to them, I do that too. The music is just kind of the extra thing I get to do for them. But that's why I love Harmony, because, unfortunately, it's not offered as much as it should be, in my opinion, because music is not a pill that we swallow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not a prescription that needs to be written out. It should be something that we share. Yeah, that we share between each other, just because, for humanity, for each other's sake.
So you feel like you would like to see others incorporate more of that, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If it is what, a person needs at the end of the day. And I've even had friends reach out to me that, they've asked me, can you come sing for my mom, or, and depending on if I know them, of course, yes, because I primarily focus around our patients.
So you go
Obviously.
weekly?
I go weekly. It's as much as I want to go.
And for the last 3 years, you said teaching at UTSA.
Yeah, I'm starting up 26, so I'm I still go into classes, I'll go into Introduction to the Music Industry. I have another class that I'm going to be doing that's about songwriting, formatting.
So 3 years ago, though, when you started, What was the name of the course?
I didn't really have a course. I kind of went to different classes. I went to world music class and I spoke about Tejano. I was in the audio tech class, so I would really critique their work when they were producing and
So you
the
would work
technicality
alongside.
of engineering music.
You would work alongside professors, and
And then I would take a lot of the students to my studio. If they were working on a project or they're aspiring producers and artists, they would come work in my studio and I would kind of let them have free reign of what they're doing. And I'd kind of tell them,
that was music in general, not necessarily just Tejano.
no,
right?
just music in general.
Just-
This is the
and are you the
first
only-
time that I'm really going to be very hands-on with teaching the technicality of Tejano music.
So this is an official Tejano
It's
course.
an official class. Yeah. First time ever.
Hey, you walked the red carpet. Was it last year or the year before for the movie Saying a Little Prayer?
Yeah, Say a Little Prayer was last year, was released, starring Luis Fonsi,
Yeah.
Vanessa Vasquez, and an incredible film. I just love it. It's a comedy. It's a love story. if
What
you
was
will.
your role in it?
I did the opening song. I produced the opening song, and I redid These Boots Are Made for Walking, and it's the Hano country style. So yeah, the opening of the movie, first thing you hear is my voice come on, and it's really nice because it was shot in San Antonio, and nothing prouder than to be on the big screen and hear your voice, and they're showing downtown San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And now I've made the transition of also doing music for films. So I do the soundtracks. So I got to hear my music for the second time on the big screen recently. So yeah, I love just challenging myself constantly.
And what was it like working with Luis Fonsi? Did you work with him?
Sweet guy. Like, I only got to talk to him the night of the premiere.
Yeah.
But a very nice guy. You can sense that from him anyway, like just watching him. But I've heard a lot of really nice stories about him. But, really good guy. And it being his first major film, like, he did really well on the acting. So, yeah.
Have you seen the new Selena documentary yet?
I haven't. I mean, it's funny because I'd seen a lot of those, home videos as it is, and it does bring back a lot of memories because, I mean, I myself have tons and tons of video VHS that I haven't dug up probably since the 80s.
Which one day you will,
One day
and
I
you
will.
promise you will give them to me
One
because
day
I want to
will.
see those.
I just don't know how
Yes.
I'd feel watching them, so that's why I really don't do it. But yeah, we have a lot that my dad took of us, and we took of each other and stuff. So yeah, that would be nice. But I really am glad that it's finally told in her own words of who she is,
Yeah.
and I don't ever say was, because I think once you do that, that's kind of like forgetting who they are. So, spirit never dies. So, but yeah, I'm glad fans are really enjoying it.
And her spirit lives within you.
Absolutely. And everybody, for sure.
Shelly, I can't wrap up without asking you to sing.
Okay. What song do you want me to sing?
You tell me what you want to sing.
goodness.
Give us some of your favorites.
I'd have to
How
sing.
about one in English and one in Spanish?
Okay. I'd have to sing probably one of my favorites that I've ever recorded. It's called Mil Besos. And it's actually a song that I love to... I sang to one of my patients, and lo and behold, she sang it with me. I didn't know she was gonna sing it with me. So it was originally done in 1954, but I brought it back in 2000 as a Tejano progressive ranchera. So it's He encontrado en tu amor la fe perdida. Ahora tiene mi vida una razón. No sé si fue el embrujo de tus ojos que le dijo a tus labios robarle el corazón. Yo sé que en los 1000 besos que te he dado en la boca se me fue el corazón. Y dicen que es pecado querer como te quiero. Quizás tengan razón, pero ¿qué ha de importarme todo lo que me digan si no te he de olvidar? Y si es pecado amarte, yo he de seguir pecando porque lo he de ocultar. Te he de seguir amando hasta que me devuelvas el corazón que en besos yo te dejé en la boca.
Wow.
Thank you. Oh, thank you in the back. Thank you in the back.
Now we got to hear the English.
Oh, man. What song do we want to hear in English? Goodness. Do you have a request? What song should I do in English?
Do you want to do
Mom?
something from Olivia Newton-John?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, let's do something from Olivia Newton-John. This is a song I sang when I was 10 years old with the band for the first time.
Bringing back the old days. Right,
I'll just do
here
the
for
chorus.
you.
It goes, let me be there in the morning. Let me be there in your night. Let me change whatever's wrong and make it right. Let me take you to that wonderland that only two can share. All I ask you is let me be there.
So beautiful.
I almost forgot the words.
I love it. And,
Well, thank
and then
you.
we got to do the one that only the Como la Flor, because that's the only
That's the one
that
that
I
Sarah
know.
loves.
I love, and it's the only one I know. the
I
lyrics
tried to get you
somewhat.
singing besitos, but you like como la flor.
I only know the lyrics to Como la Flor and some of it.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
that's
You
Okay.
lead the way.
All right.
You lead the way, Sarah. Go ahead.
All right. Como la flor, con tanto amor me diste tú, se marchito, yo marché, yo sé perder, pero ay, como me duele, ay, como me duele.
Hey! Sign her up.
That's what I'm trying to get her to
Shell
do.
Shock Records 3,
She's
next
been
artist.
She's been telling me that for months. It's not happening yet.
We're going to get you in there, Sarah.
We're going to get there. So
we're going to get it.
First, I got to go through her class and audition. She's going to let me know what to do, how to get better.
You got it.
And I'm good for it. Shelly,
That's right.
amazing conversation.
Thank
I
you,
knew
Sarah.
it would
Thank
be.
you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, guys.
sharing your talents with everyone.
Thank
and
you.
your beautiful story.
Thank you. Thank you very much, y'all.
Thank you.